Welcome to the Masters Bikini and Fit Model podcast, where we celebrate the women proving that strength, beauty, discipline, and stage presence do not expire with age. I'm your host, Lacy Green, IFBB Bikini Pro and Coach, and joining me is my co-host, Kyla Dickerson, IFBB Fit Model Pro and Coach. Together, we're bringing you real conversations, expert insight, athlete stories, and encouragement for women who are building their best physique in the Masters divisions of Bikini and Fit Model. Whether you're already competing, preparing for your first show, dreaming about the stage, or simply inspired by strong women who refuse to let age define what is possible, you are in the right place. Welcome to the show. Hello, my Masters ladies. It's Lacy and Kyla again,
Hi.
the Masters Bikini and Fit Model podcast. Today, we are talking about hormone replacement therapy.
Yes.
Kyla, how do you feel about that topic?
I know it's a big topic. I know it's one that a lot of women, a lot of you listening want to talk about. And we're not the experts in this. We're not doctors. We're just going to start with like a blanket statement there. But we want to share our experience very honestly and candidly and openly with our personal experience with HRT or without it. I feel really good about it because I think it's something that we don't talk about enough, and that we're really excited because we will have specialists on in this arena. So you can ask the questions and we can get expert and professional advice. But I think that it's really important to start with our own personal experience with it. And we'd love for y'all to share too. I think that's a good place to start this conversation. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I love to hear personal experiences, and I wished that I had the opportunity to hear more of them before I went down the avenue of trying to decide if it was right for me. But I do want to say we do have an expert lined up that's coming on soon. And so I would like it if you guys would ask your questions. Go to YouTube, ask questions that you want us to ask the expert, because we really want to give you good information when she's on. And anything hormone replacement, peptides, ask the questions. I don't know much about peptides myself personally, so I'm going to have questions about that.
Yes. And I want to just clarify, Lacy, that the YouTube link we'll have in the show notes, right?
Yes.
So, and peptides, yeah, we'll talk about our own personal experience with that. I feel like there's this taboo thing, right? Like, are you a natural athlete because you take testosterone? I mean, according to the IFBB NPC and the natural divisions, you're not. But there's just so much around that topic, so much about peptides right now, which I just listened to if anybody listens to, Huberman, I think it's Huberman podcast. I don't know how to say his podcast name, but he was just interviewing a doctor that talked all about peptides. And the doctor was like, listen, get ready, doctors, because this is going to be researched, there's going to be a lot of research studies with peptides coming up. So you can either jump on board or get off, but it's going to be something that's, it's definitely up and coming. So yeah, we'll talk about all that. And we're really excited about that guest coming up because she'll be able to answer a lot of our questions.
Yeah. So, but for today, we're going to share our experience and just be open with you guys about what we do know about it through our own personal experience. I'll say I currently, this is shocking to so many people when I say this because I'm 48, but I was officially categorized as postmenopausal at 46. At 45, I started going through, like, my periods stopped, and they say 12 months of no menstrual cycle. And so I made it through 12 months, and I'm like, well, hot dang, I guess this is it. I guess this is the end. So I have been postmenopausal now for 2 years. And so being postmenopausal, I've been through a lot of experiences with that. And I will say the entire time that I went through menopause, like as soon as it started, I began taking hormone replacement therapy. And then throughout menopause, I did. And my menopause has been what I would consider ideal, honestly. And I guess I would have to credit that to hormone replacement therapy because I don't know how to not, because I didn't experience it without. But I will say that it definitely was something that mitigated any symptoms that people talk about. I remember being younger, and when I was a respiratory therapist, I was working in the hospital, and I remember this lady, she came in and she's like sweating. And she's like, I'm just over here having my own personal summer. And I remember thinking, oh my Lord, is that going to happen to me? Like, am I going to like all of a sudden just have my own personal summer where like she was drenched in sweat?
Yeah.
And she's at
Oh, yeah.
the job trying to work and she's covered in sweat. And I'm like, oh man, this is going to be bad. And then I would hear stories like from my friends who's like, oh yeah, my mom, she was unbearable when she went through menopause. You just wait. You're going to be horrible to be around. And I'm like, dang, this is going to be bad. And that was
Horror
not the
stories.
case. Yeah, that was not the case for me at all. So I guess I'll start really quickly with how like I got introduced to it. I was actually prepping for the Nashville Fit Show and I was not sure if my cycle stopped because of prep, because it always did. I always lost my cycle for 1 month, just a month, and then it would resume again.
Okay.
And I had lost it a little earlier than the month mark, which was weird. And I was like, okay, every prep is different. So I took that into consideration. But then after the show, usually it would come back and it didn't. So I went and got tested and I'm like, yeah, your blood markers are showing that you're, headed in menopause. Like everything was dropping, whatever. So at that point, I got evaluated to start hormone replacement therapy. So my estrogen was still okay. It was in the very low normal level, whatever. But my progesterone was really lacking and they were asking me questions about my sleep. And at the time, I did not know the connection between the progesterone and sleep. My sleep was terrible. And I was never a person that had a hard time sleeping. And it actually had really started to affect my life negatively. And so they were like, okay, we're going to give you progesterone at night and start you on a very low dose of testosterone injection. I've always been on the injection. I know there's lots of options for that. I've always done injection. And it's such a tiny nothing injection, but it does wonders. I thought, how can this tiny little nothing do something? But it does. And within about 6 weeks of starting just the testosterone and the progesterone, one day I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, the world was just brighter. I didn't realize how bad my brain fog had gotten and my mental clarity had decreased so much. And I just felt like my brain was clear. It was
Mm-hmm.
like a miracle. And I'm like, this is incredible. Like, this is really amazing that I feel this good. And I started to recognize the correlation between using the hormone replacement therapy and my quality of life improving. And for me, that was the reason why I wanted to continue it, is because it had such a profound positive impact on my quality of life that I'm like, okay, well, we're going to keep doing this. And I did. I continued it on until recently some blood work reflected my estrogen was starting to be an issue too. And so I started with an estrogen cream. That was
Mm-hmm.
the way I wanted to. There's so many ways to go.
So many options. Yeah.
Yeah. Between me and my doctor, we talked about the things and I said, okay, I want to do the cream. I want to start with the cream and just see how it goes. And I'm very happy with it. So I think I found a sweet spot for me right now. I do get blood work every 3 months because I personally do not want to overdo the testosterone because there are some negative side effects to taking testosterone long term.
There
And I'm
can be.
aware of those. Yeah, I'm aware of those and I mitigate those by making sure I get my blood work every 3 months and then just taking the minimum effective dosage of each thing. And it's serving me very well right now.
Yeah, I think you're in an ideal place with this, and I know a lot of women that are and aren't. I have a client that went is postmenopausal as young as you are. So she has the same story. I was like, oh my gosh, are you lucky? Is that being lucky? Because I'm straight in perimenopause right now. So
Yeah.
perimenopause and the night sweats were horrible. And so I actually decided at the end of last year to go on testosterone. And you're talking about testosterone. My numbers were so low. And it is good to keep checking your blood work. People think once a year. I mean, that's great, but I do it more as well. I do it like at least twice a year, sometimes 3 times a year. And the testosterone can be really easy for it to go over, especially if you're like injecting, you have to really pinpoint that. And
Yeah.
so because you don't need a ton, but
Yeah.
women do
It's
need it. But
tiny.
it's
Yeah. It
tiny, but
is
the
tiny.
hormones like testosterone is needed for women. And I've got a bone to pick because the fact that like insurance doesn't really cover that
R-
is ridiculous to me because I'm not on the injection. I take the gel where you can put the gel like in your inner arm or inner thigh. I do it in the inner thigh. It's a pea size, and it made all the difference with my mood, my libido, my like the
Yeah.
cognitive effects of it. Um, I think it's got to be part of the reason the night sweats aren't there as much. My sleep is
Yeah.
good and then it's not good sometimes. So I'm actually going to start the estrogen and the progesterone this month. So
Oh, that
TBD
would
on
be
how that
fun.
goes for me. So
Yeah.
I'm just starting that journey. I was going to start it. I wanted to see like, okay, well, how if I throw everything at it? That's why I think it's cool that you started those two. I think
Yeah.
it was the testosterone and the progesterone, right? You
Yep.
started those together because if you just throw everything at it, like how do we know what works? So I said I want to start the
Sure.
testosterone because my numbers were so low, and my husband's are just perfect. Like his,
Sure.
usually for men, like he just turned 50 last year,
Right.
so but mine were not, and that just can happen. And so I checked that all out and I was like, hey, I'm ready to do it. I want to start with this. And then knew I was going to go, into prep for the show. And so I was like, I don't want to introduce a bunch of new, hormone replacements as I'm prepping for a show because it can be, Lacy's had an ideal experience, but I've heard some opposite stories too, where there can be, body composition changes or weight gain or weight loss, or people have had all sorts of stories. So you have to see what works for you because you might try something like the cream and it doesn't work. And so now you're going to try the patch and maybe that works better for you. So yeah, so I'm going to trial that when I'm not in a prep. So I think that's smart. So we'll talk about my journey with that, being that I'm not in the same place. I'm not postmenopausal. I'm
Yeah.
definitely in that perimenopause stage. So
That's
yeah,
going to be
that's where we're
fun
at.
because you'll be able to keep the girls updated on that because I know they want to know. I mean,
Yeah,
this is one of the top questions that I get in my DMs. I'm sure you do too.
yeah.
Women really want to know about this.
Do want to know, and you can't compete as a natural athlete being on testosterone.
Yeah, that's the
And I know
tricky
that's a
one.
very taboo, like where
I
people are like,
know.
really? Like is that, I mean, because we need to have a
Yeah,
healthy testosterone level as women.
right.
It's not, it's been this thing, oh, men have to have it. No, women have to have that too. And so, but I get it because, there's been studies that have been proven that it helps, muscle growth and all of that.
Sure.
So yeah, I get it, but don't get it. It's one of those things.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel
I'm
about that,
glad you
Lacy.
brought that up because that was something I had to consider when I started because
Right.
I was very much competing. Like I said, I did the inaugural Ben Weeder, which was a natural drug tested IFBB pro show. And there wasn't a lot of pro shows that were drug tested. I think that was the only one at the time. I think there's a few more now, but I had to balance that decision. If I'm competing and I start taking this hormone
Hmm.
replacement therapy, I'm no longer natural, even though
Yeah.
I'm not taking any banned substances other than what is improving my quality of life directly. And it's
Hmm.
managed by a physician. It's maintained by a physician. I get it through a prescription. It's not like I'm going, you know, secret places to get illegal
We're not
drugs.
going to the black
Right.
market. We're not
Yeah.
overdosing to like build massive, crazy
Yeah.
muscles to, we're
Yeah.
not, it's not a PED. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah,
So I
but
was a
that's
little
the thing.
bummed about that, but it improved my
Yeah.
quality of life so much that I was like, I don't care because life is more important. And my quality of life was so tremendously improved because of it that I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I guess I'm not considered quote unquote natural anymore.
And let's talk about that because that's kind of a hard thing because my claim to fame, I'm going to be real honest with you guys, claim to fame for myself, like not that it made me famous anywhere else, but is I wanted to go, I said, I'm going to be a natural IFBB fit model pro. That was just a goal I had. I'm not going to go to the OC. I love the OCB. I love the natural federations, love it all. I wanted to be a natural IFBB pro. And when I competed, I wasn't on anything. No testosterone, no peptides, nothing. So when I went to the Masters, the Gary Udit show that's coming up this July, I did that last year. I was completely a natural athlete. So I do want everybody to know, I mean, that you can, and
And
Lacy
I
did it
did
too.
too. Yeah.
We both did this naturally. She did, but bikini's even harder to do naturally. So I think actually all divisions are. But we we both did that naturally. So that was something that was important to me. So it was really when I was like, oh man, like I found myself going, I don't want to be non-natural and be on testosterone. And I was like, that is so stupid. Like when it's going to improve your quality of life, improve possibly, your sex life, your personal life with, just your mood, your overall mood and stability, cognitive
Yeah.
health, all of that. I was like, no natural title, I'm sorry, is worth it. Like to like, I think
Right.
living life is more important than anything. How you live
Yeah.
your everyday life out beyond the stage.
Sure.
So
Absolutely.
that's
And I
my
think
personal belief.
that's the good perspective to put on it is like, okay, when it comes daily living, right? Quality life is so much more important than that moment of competing on stage. But that
Yeah.
also invoked some emotions in me once I knew I was not considered natural anymore. I had a moment, and I'm gonna be really honest with you guys. I had a moment where I was like, YOLO, I'll just take all the things then, get huge muscles. It was like the
Yeah.
gateway opened
Yeah.
and I had to kind of sit with myself for a little bit and say, okay, let's really talk about this. Like, is this really what we want? And it wasn't. I'm taking this for my quality of life. If it makes me somebody who is considered not natural, so be it. But I don't have to take anything else. And I'm not going to do that. But
Right.
that was like something I wrestled with for a little bit because I'm like, well, now it's open.
That's
Now it's
awesome
all
that you're
open.
being honest with that because yeah, it's that step where it's like, okay, now you're not natural. And we're
Yeah,
both doing it for optimal health, to have
sure.
optimal numbers. We're not trying to go
Mhm.
above and beyond. We're just trying to get to like stability. And I really believe it's even helped with some of my Hashimoto's, which my doctor, I have
Yeah,
Hashimoto's. I was diagnosed with that 2 years ago. And that's a hard one to manage. And it's an autoimmune disease if you're not familiar with it, but it does cause inflammation and it, causes all sorts of things, joint aches, things like that. So there are peptides that help with that. There are, and we've talked about it. Me and my doc, I want to have my doctor on here because she's so amazing. She's a hormone specialist and, my primary doctor as well. And she's like, testosterone helps with so many more things for women than you
yeah,
actually even know. And so I feel like
right.
it's helped with that too. So, we always say on this, to each their own,
Yeah,
you've got to you're living your journey, your life. You have to feel good in your body and about your decisions. And whatever that is for you,
yeah.
you got to choose that. And that's okay. And I feel
I
great about my decision. I know
I do
sounds like
too.
you do too.
Absolutely. Well, and another benefit, so I did mention that I had that mental clarity. That to
Yeah.
me alone was all worth it. But let me tell you the bonuses that came too. My libido
Yeah.
kicked up. And let me tell you how happy that made my husband. I didn't realize how low my libido was. I didn't realize. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh wow, I just felt like, let's go. Like any
Yeah.
dark room we could
I know.
get, let's go.
It helped mine too. Like I was
Yeah.
like, because you're not like, oh, I don't find, my husband attractive anymore. I don't. It just something happens with your hormones where you're just like, oh, I could or I
Yeah, I'm
couldn't.
tired.
I'm
Yeah,
tired.
whatever.
Like you're not like you remember when you were. I don't know. I just remember like in my like 30s, right? Even into my late 30s, where I was just like,
Yeah.
we were on a Cabo trip, and I was just like, I was the one
There's
that
a
was like, every
yeah,
5 minutes, let's go, and I'm like, what happened to that, Kyla? And it just happens. Things dip. We
yeah,
lose the ability to make more of this in our bodies, and so we need that help, and that's going to help our quality of life if we have
yeah,
that. We need. I mean, I need that connection with my partner. I think
yeah.
most of us do. That's a healthy thing to need and want and
Absolutely.
so yeah, same thing for me. So I think
Yeah,
it's
that was
important to
a
talk
big
about that.
I didn't think about that as a part of taking it, and I was pleasantly
Oh, you
surprised. I
didn't?
literally one day I was just, "Oh, I'm thinking about this, like,
Yeah.
what's going on?"
Ooh, yeah. It's like
And
you
then I
start
put
to
2 and 2
feel it
together.
stirring.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
"When's he coming home?"
Yeah.
And,
I
like,
know.
"Who am
I
I?"
yes. Yes, and that was like a gift,
Yeah.
because
Yeah, that's a
I
good
mean,
way to describe that.
yeah, it was like a gift. It really was. So I would never trade
Yeah.
it for a million years that decision because it's just helped in so many areas. And Um, I mean, I'd love to hear from all of you listening, like what's your experience and what questions do you have for someone that we're going to have on,
Yeah.
that's going to talk about this because I know, I mean, we've shared with you, like, we were a little hesitant, oh,
Mhm.
we're not going to be natural or hesitant because like, what if we're in this fitness world, right? Like, what if it makes me gain weight? What if I mean,
Right.
there's things with that, like birth control can do that to you. So there's different things that can happen. So there might be a ton of questions that come up that you're afraid to start that journey maybe, or like we are a little hesitant because of the what if. Like I think a lot of fear really in life comes from not knowing what's on the other side. Not that we're really afraid of
Absolutely.
it, but
Yeah.
really not knowing the answer. And
Yeah.
so it helps to have the clarity and the education around it to like make an informed decision so you're not as scared, you know?
Yeah, and we want to bring that to you guys so that you can make decisions for yourself too, because in the masters community, this is a topic. I mean, all of us think about it. I guarantee we've all thought about it at least once.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's one of those subjects like, yeah, we're talking about it more. There's, different doctors that have come on the scene. Like I think Dr. Marie Claire is one of them. If anybody ever watches her stuff, she's great. I highly recommend following her on Instagram. And just some, she talks about how when she went through medical school, like they just didn't talk about women's health. Like it was like,
Right.
oh, that woman's just kind of a little crazy at this point. I think my dad probably thought my mom in her 40s was nuts. Like I think he really at one point told us like, and she was going through this. She was going through
Right.
these hormone shifts through menopause, through perimenopause, which a lot of times makes us feel a little crazy. Let's be real. Like, so, I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of these women are paving the way right now to where, like, if you have daughters that, are in their, in high school in their 20s, they're maybe not going to experience what we did with the not knowing or what our moms did. I know my mom just that wasn't available to her, and
Right.
so it's really cool what's happening now and how we're shining a light on it. More needs to happen, more needs to be researched because a lot of what we were getting was researched on men,
Yep.
so that's what Dr. Marie Claire talks about is like it's a lot of this was like, Stacey Sims, she's another doctor I follow. She's like, we're not tiny men, like
No.
we're women. We have different physiology. Like, so we need the studies done specifically for us so we can take care of specifically, our feminine needs. And so I think it's really cool that it's like we're a part of that generation that is getting benefits from that and that our daughters and their daughters and they're all gonna, benefit from that.
They
So
will,
it's
and it
incredible.
overall enhances our quality of life. And that's, I mean, life is a gift and we want to enjoy it. And that's part of enjoying life is being able to endure that change in our bodies that we're all going to go through. I mean, we're
Yep.
all going to go through it. It's happening to all of us, but let's make it not as bad as it needs to be. Cause I think back to like what you said about crazy. I think women always were called crazy back then because their
They
hormones
were.
were wild. They couldn't help it. They were miserable in themselves because their hormones were out of control. And it's like, gosh, if you can mitigate that a little bit, why not? Why
Yeah,
not?
we're not crazy. We're just going through stuff that I'm not going to say men don't go through things. Okay.
Right.
They do too, but not like us.
Right.
So
That's right.
let's be real. Like
Hmm.
having the children, I've never had children, but that, you know, having periods, I love it
Sure.
when they stick those electrode things to men. Have you ever seen that like on Instagram
Yes.
where they're like, okay, you want to see what cramps are like, or you
Yeah.
want to see what delivery's like? Like, okay. And they can barely take like level 2 of a cramp. And it's just we're just built different. We're built different,
Sure.
and it's just a lot. We're all going through the same thing, and so
Yeah.
talking about it, like really, I don't know, it helps heal something where you don't feel alone, you don't feel as crazy. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, even PMS, something as like, let's take the HRT, just like PMS. Like I was just talking about how bad my PMS and normalizing that with a friend, like. She's like, thank you
Yeah.
for like, cause I feel like I'm insane like the week before my period. I said, because we are insane. Like I am
Yeah.
full on insane.
It's the
And I tell
hormones.
it is, it's all interconnected, but I try to like let my husband know, oh, this is what's coming. This is why. So
Yeah.
do I get a hall pass? I think he just thinks it's a hall pass, but we should get a hall pass because
Yes.
it's like, it changes like your whole
Well, and to be
personality
fair,
sometimes.
yeah, and we don't enjoy it either. I remember when I had my period, I would always the week before, I would just be like, I didn't even want to be in my body. I'm like, this sucks. Like, can't
Yeah.
we pass the? I knew what it was. It's like, can the days just please pass by? Because this is miserable. And you could
Yeah.
try
You
to
just
take
want it to
things
go.
like I would always take chasteberry to
Oh,
supplement
I've
to
never
help.
taken that.
It didn't help. So it didn't
But
help
maybe
me.
the placebo effect of like,
Yeah.
oh,
Oh,
helping
I'm
me.
taking something. Yeah.
Sometimes that helps, but like, you're going through your luteal phase and you like, I don't know if there's been research both ways of training in your phases, like a certain way to
Yeah.
train. But I just listen to my body in those phases where I'm just like,
Yep.
I'm going to just try to find the mind muscle connect. This was me today because I know it's like the week before my period. It's just, I don't have the output. I don't have the same output. And maybe some
Yeah.
people do that, but I just don't. And so I'm like, I'm going to find the mind muscle connection with my glute lift today, lift a little lighter, be really intentional and slow, and just find that connection. Right. And that's how I train today. And so just listening to your body, like, and those, because if we're being real, I mean, I was talking about this with my friend the other day. We're getting like maybe one good week. One
Yeah.
good week where we're not bloated, where we're not PMSing,
Bleeding.
where
Yeah.
bleeding. Like, I mean, seriously, because there's the before their period, and there's, like sometimes that's 2 weeks for women, and then it's the week of your period, and then you're just kind of like you're finding your way out of that after. It's like
Yeah.
it's nonstop with us, and so give yourself some grace, and we're all going through it together in different
Yeah.
ways, albeit different ways, but we're all going through it.
Yeah. And we're in it together, whether you're still having a period or they're scattered now and you're like, oh boy, could this be it? Or they're done. We're all in it together. This is something we all
Yeah.
experience together and we don't have to do it alone. We're
I wish
together.
I
And
wasn't
does that
having
feel
a
better?
period though, Lacy. I wish I wasn't having a period. I'm so sick of having a period.
So let me tell you, the day I threw away my tampons, I was like, yes.
I
I
would
was
have a
so
whole
excited
party
about
for
that.
myself. I would have
It's
a whole
coming.
party for myself
It's
because I
coming, sister.
cannot. I'm like, gosh, I'm not even like, why do I have to have a period? Okay, I get it. I know I can't like fast forward through things. You just have to let your body do what it's supposed to do, and we're
No.
gonna have some help along the way, which I'm so grateful for. So I'm excited to share my journey of like, I mean, I haven't like talked about this openly even on my social media, which I'm pretty open on there about things, in prep life and out, and share personal things, usually about my mom, or, things about my clients or whatever. But like, I think it's going to be really good to share my journey, because if something goes awry with like something I try in the, HRT role, as far as like, am I going to try the patch? Am I going to try, I'm deciding that with my doctor. I want to be able to tell you here, my experience, and maybe that will help you. But just know also, you could have a different experience than me. So
Yeah.
I mean, you could
But
be
it's
just
good
fine with
to
something,
hear. I think
but it's good to
hearing
hear. Yeah.
people, yeah,
What
like
people are going through.
some of that helps. So we are going to follow up with you on that periodically on
Yeah.
your journey, and you can
I think we
give us the
should.
thumbs up or the thumbs down on how things are going, because I do think that will help a woman tremendously. Yeah.
I think so too. And I think, if I'm being really honest with myself, I've like stalled and delayed it because I'm a little nervous. I'm a
Oh,
little nervous. I'm
yeah.
like, what's gonna happen? Like, am I gonna feel better? What if I feel worse? And so I'm like, oh, I've been in prep, can't do that. Oh, I've got a trip coming up, so I'm not gonna start it right now, because like, and I've done that.
Yeah.
And I'm being honest with you guys, saying that I'm like gonna be brave, start this journey, because it's something new, and
Yeah.
it's
It
the
is.
unknown is scary.
It is. And you know what, though? I think a lot of women feel that way. So thank you for sharing that you feel that way. And I'll reassure you that anything you start, you can stop.
That's true. That's good to hear, actually. I needed to hear
Yeah.
that, because I'm like, is this going to be good? Like, I'm kind of good where I'm at right now, but I do
Yeah.
want to feel better. I want better sleep. You know, my bestie is on just like raves about how progesterone just changed her
Yeah.
life, her sleep, everything. So I'm like, okay, that's coming for me. That's coming for me. I'm going to
Yeah.
manifest that, but I'll let you know either way.
Yeah. We will stay tuned to that. All right. You guys have questions about this stuff, don't forget to go ask on the YouTube. Okay. You can comment on the other things too, but if you put it on YouTube, I'm writing them down so that when we do have our guest expert, we can ask all the questions. But don't be embarrassed to ask questions. And if it is embarrassing, DM us privately if you don't want your name attached to a question. I don't want there to be any barrier to you
Yeah.
getting an answer to a question. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point, Lacy. Yeah, we will not ever say your name if there's something that, I mean, without your consent, obviously, without
Sure.
your consent. But go on YouTube, it's in the show notes. I know there's a million ways to watch, to listen, to watch us. If you want to see how animated we are, or our cute outfits sometimes, like I'm wearing Bombshell sportswear today. It's a really cute outfit. I love their stuff. Um, but like you get on YouTube and you can actually see how animated we are. But also, we're on Spotify and Apple as well. So however
Yeah.
you're listening, we appreciate it so much. And we're just so excited to share more with you.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that will wrap up hormone replacement therapy for now. As always, I love you guys so much.
And I love you just as much. Love you. And we mean it.
Yes. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Masters Bikini and Fit Model podcast. If today's episode inspired you, please share it with another athlete. Follow us on Instagram, and remember, your best years are not behind you. They're still being built. We'll see you next time. Until then, we love you and we mean it.